What a night it was at Lincoln Financial Field, and it was a perfect preseason game in South Philadelphia as the Birds returned home in front of the home fans for the first time since the NFC Championship game victory against the San Francisco 49ers. And those who stayed out the duration of this ball game treated to an 18-18 tie. There was some good. There was some bad. There were a lot of injuries, and we're going to talk about it here on our post-game show as we dissect our Philadelphia Eagles winners and losers against Cleveland. Before we do that, though, I do want to pass along some injury notes and some injury news for Philadelphia because that is pertinent information. Nolan Smith went to the locker room after he was having a tremendous first half. He was holding his shoulder. As he was going to the locker room, he was all smiles. He was back on the field after he did go to the locker room, and he did not have a wrap on that shoulder. So it looks as though Nolan Smith, who he got hurt off an end around when he was making a tackle, he got called for a horse collar, but I really liked his diagnosing skills on that play. Took some friendly fire to his shoulder, and I think it was out of precaution because he looked to be in good spirits. We'll, of course, continue to monitor that situation. Olamide Zaccheaus also left the game early with a left shoulder injury. Marcus Mariota hit him with a quick hitter to the left side, and we saw what I saw from him last year with the Atlanta Falcons and what I said he could bring to this Eagles team after they signed him in free agency to really compete for that wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 role. Has a lot of wiggle. He left the game with the shoulder injury. He was back on the sideline with pads. Zech McPherson, unfortunately, who was a 2-time Special Teams Player of the Week last year in the NFC for Philadelphia, was targeted a lot early in this game. He gave up some plays, but he remained tough, had a pass breakup or two. I really like the mental fortitude that I saw from him. Unfortunately, though, he left this game on a cart because of a serious lower body leg injury. Entire Eagles team came out to really console him during what was a difficult time. He's a good special teams player who was drafted out of Texas Tech to be an outside corner and has been a backup there, was a good special teamer last year, emerged there, and now if this is a serious injury for Zech McPherson, you lost Sean Bradley because of that torn Achilles last week against Baltimore. That's a hit to your special teams unit. It's also a hit to Zech McPherson, who came into camp playing inside slot, and it looked as though that was going to be his position. Then he popped out wide, and I thought he showed some good things, but the teammates understood the severity of the moment in him battling for a roster spot. We'll see what happens, but anytime you get carted off, it's not good. Josh Andrews did leave the game with an ankle injury, and then Moro Ojomo, as well as Tyree Cleveland, both got carted off in this game because of head injuries. They did have full movement in their extremities. This was a physical game for Philadelphia after a couple of physical joint practices between Philadelphia and Cleveland, and it resulted in a couple of really scary moments for this team in this preseason matchup. Eagles winners, Eagles losers coming up just around the corner. Wanted to pass along the latest Eagles injury news. First, though, make sure you go on down and hit that subscribe button. We were live for our watch party, 30,000 views, another great success. And if you're looking for year-round Eagles content that's informative, insightful, entertaining, consistent with breaking news, analysis, rumors, live shows, watch parties, that's what we do here on the channel. The standard for top-tier Eagles coverage right here on this platform. Hit that subscribe button. I want to start off with our Eagles winners here, and Nakobe Dean is a clear winner after tonight. You factor in everything at play for Nakobe Dean. Going into year 2, going into this offseason in training camp, he was given the green dot where Sean Desai relays the play calls to him. We know he's an instinctual, smart, heady player, and we saw that in this football game tonight. He was good in coverage in the rare moments that he dropped back in coverage as a linebacker, but the play for Nakobe Dean, that was terrific. That was superb. The Browns, opening drive of the game, Dorian Thompson-Robinson picks up a couple of third down conversions. The Browns march down the field. And after Nakobe Dean did have a hit on a defensive player in DTR, He's whistled for the flag there. Ball gets moved up to the 1 or 2 yard line. Browns, they're knocking on the doorstep. They're about to score. What Nakobe Dean does on the ensuing play is everything that I've been raving about with Nakobe Dean. He can read plays before they happen. Engineering major at Georgia. Very smart player who has this instinctual feel. And that's exactly the play that he made at that linebacker spot. Middle linebacker, he saw where the run was going before the play happened. He's able to read it, where it goes. He shoots the gap immediately, punches the football out, forced fumble. Eagles get the rock back. Unfortunately for Philadelphia, they gave up a safety because of a missed block as Kenneth Gainwell got dropped in the end zone as this offense under Marcus Mariota was awful. We'll talk about that. More on him in a minute. But Nakobe Dean, that's the type of play that you need to make. In pass coverage, made a play short of the sticks on a receiver, and then you punch the football out. He's our first winner for tonight. Winner number 2 is Nolan Smith. Like Nakobe Dean, some of the things that we've been talking about with Nolan Smith, bend coming across that edge, speed, explosiveness, the physicality, the athleticism. He made all those plays. He made this really good run at DTR in the pocket in which he got pressure on DTR operating at left edge rusher. And last week we saw him get a quarterback pressure operating on the left tackle on the other side. But he got a pressure on DTR, forced him to step up in the pocket to the interior of that Eagles defensive line. That resulted in a sack. On an end around, he was able to read that play. And while he got called for a horse collar tackle, he actually started his hand up at that horse collar, then dropped it down and was able to wrap the offensive ball carrier up. But outside of that, he was able to really display that athleticism. And if the Eagles are going to be without Hassan Reddick, who is hoped to be back for week 1 with that thumb surgery that he's going to undergo, Nolan Smith's going to have to step up. And tonight I saw a guy where I was like, he dropped to the Eagles at number 30 at a position of importance, a position that the Eagles value with that type of athleticism where he has that burst, he has that quickness, he has that bend. He also has a bull rush to his game where I think his strength is underrated and people don't realize how strong he is because in the pre-draft process, he was under 240 pounds. Nolan Smith also a winner. So too is Christian Elliss. So Nakobe Dean is fighting for that starting spot at linebacker. Christian Elliss is as well. And I saw Nicholas Morrow miss a tackle in the backfield. Myles Jack did not play in this game, to my knowledge, until about the 4-minute mark. Zach Cunningham was everywhere. He's had a really good week. But Christian Elliss, since earlier this offseason, in OTAs, he's been making plays against the run, against the pass. He did that too. And right now, it's looking like Nakobe Dean and Christian Elliss are the 2 best off-ball linebackers for this Eagles team. That's great news for a UDFA. Zach Cunningham. Really good week of practice for Zach Cunningham. And he led the NFL in tackles just a couple of years ago while with the Houston Texans. And we saw him cause that type of damage tonight against that Browns offense. He was all across the field making plays. He, too, fighting for a roster spot, needed to show up tonight. He certainly put some good plays on tape. And then lastly, Tanner McKee. I absolutely love what Tanner McKee did tonight, working off of his performance with what he did last week against Baltimore. The final tallies for McKee, 10 of 18, 147 yards, a touchdown. And it's the throws that he made once again that were big boy level throws. Tanner McKee with the backups, just like Marcus Mariota with the backups, made plays happen. He didn't misfire on throws like Mariota. He showed up with the backups, whereas Mariota did not. He made a couple of great back shoulder throws to Deon Cain, drop. Back shoulder ball to Tyree Cleveland, drop. He came in at first drive after halftime, led the Eagles right down the field. Really impressive drive, which resulted in a Trey Sermon touchdown run. Tanner McKee has it. And in this league, when guys are NFL open, you have to find a way to hit them. And you do that with timing, touch, accuracy, anticipation, feel for the game. Tanner McKee did that tonight. I was really impressed once again by him. And I said this past week during our live show, if Tanner McKee becomes QB2 over Mariota at some point, I will not be surprised. And tonight we saw why, as he built on another really good performance. Had an opportunity, 2-minute drill at the end of this game. Couldn't capitalize because the Eagles' backup offensive line was not good. They can be deemed as losers across the board, but McKee a winner. So with that, we ask you this. Your biggest Eagles winner from tonight's preseason game was who? A lot of you are waking up with us on this fine Friday. Let us know down in the comments section. We'll get to our Eagles losers. First, though, if you want a Real John shirt, get them right now, because if you're a real one, you're a real John. Chatsports.com/RealJohn. Old school Eagles print from when they originally had these Kelly Green jerseys. And you can get this shirt in Kelly Green as well as black at chatsports.com/RealJohn. Eagles losers now. Marcus Mariota leads us off. This is a veteran player who's been in the league for a really long time. And I had him as a stock down on one of our segments on Wednesday. But then he had a really good practice late in the week for a joint practice. And I'm like, okay, maybe, he watched the show and he's answering the call. He missed throw after throw after throw. Missed him high, too. That is not something that an NFL veteran does. And then the third miss high was an interception. And this Eagles offense didn't really move the ball at all with Marcus Mariota. They did move the ball with Tanner McKee. McKee was much more accurate and didn't look scared back there, whereas Marcus Mariota looked a little bit flustered, looked unsure of himself. The accuracy has continued to be a problem. He can run, and he can run with the best of them. But when it comes to layering throws in there to that second and third level, throwing with touch, he doesn't do it to the level that Tanner McKee does. Trey Sermon. Some people might say that he's a winner. I think Trey Sermon is a loser. He started off really well. He made a special teams tackle as he burst down the field on a punt return very quickly and was able to make that tackle. He had a good run in which he was able to run with physicality. Then he coughed it up on a screen pass. Not good. Can't turn the football over when you're trying to make a play and trying to make the roster, especially when you look good in catching that screen pass, displaying something that's important for running backs catching the ball in this type of offense stylistically. And then after that, he whiffed on a blitz pickup. And those little things will cost you a roster spot, and it might land him on the practice squad if he clears waivers and another team doesn't pick him up. He did have that touchdown in which he started off, went up the middle, bounced it out to the outside. I like the speed and explosiveness there, but two glaringly bad plays for Trey Sermon. Deon Cain, he goes down as a loser as well. USFL Championship game MVP, caught 3 touchdowns in that game, made an impact as a returner at the USFL level. He was one of the final cuts for Philadelphia, a guy who did not make the 53-man roster last year, but was one of the final cuts. Tonight we saw why he hasn't been able to really stick on a roster. Back shoulder ball from Tanner McKee, that aforementioned play, he dropped it. And then McKee made like an improvisational play, little read option on a play where he rolled right, approaching the goal line. 4th down, 4th and goal. He threw it right to Deon Cain. Maybe it was a little high right here. He dropped it. Again, those types of plays, when you're trying to crack a roster, that is the difference between a player who makes it and a player who doesn't. Myles Jack. This isn't him being a loser and classified as such because he played poorly, but I thought it was pretty telling how Zach Cunningham got in way before him, made a lot more plays than him, and Myles Jack was really on the sideline until he got in, to my knowledge, at about the 4-minute mark. That tells me this Eagles team not too high on him. And then Moro Ajomo, unfortunately for him, this isn't because of anything that he did. I actually thought he played pretty well when he was on the field. He's a loser because he got hurt in this game. And if it's an upper body injury that keeps him from seeing the field in the final preseason game, I'd say it might be difficult for him to make this roster. And that's why it's the unfortunate reality for Moro Ajomo, who, again, I thought he did some really solid things in this football game. with that, we asked you for your biggest winner. Let's ask you for your biggest loser from tonight. Drop us a name down below in that comment section. Who did I miss on the show? Eagles injury news, winners, losers. Appreciate everybody who tuned in for this program as well as our watch party. Don't forget to subscribe. Our next watch party a week from tonight, Thursday Night Football against the Indianapolis Colts to round out the preseason. Then it's time for the regular season. Go Birds, EAGLES. We'll catch you next time here on the show. Thanks for watching.